call, please.
Director Hawkins? Director Chacon?
Present.
Director Vasquez?
Present.
Director Aceituno?
Present.
President Apalaca?
Here. Director Chaglan, would you please lead us in the pledge of invocation, I'm sorry. And Director Aceituno, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we come before you this morning, Father God. Lord, we pray for your holy wisdom, knowledge, insight, boldness, courage, and comprehension, Lord. Lord, we pray for the agency, Father God. Lord, we pray, Father God, for victory over its enemies, Lord, and we pray for unity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Put your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have certification?
The agenda was posted.
Okay. Public comments and presentation. Before we do that, I just want to thank you all for coming under our heavy rain, which we needed, of course. And as we speak, it still goes on. So with that, we have one public speaker, Sandra Rostam. Need some help?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. I'm back. Oh, gosh. The rain brought me in.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Council. I think I'm a council meeting. Good morning, board members, staff, audience. My name is Sandra Rivera Orozco, a voice for those that suffer from multiple sclerosis, an influential Southeast political activist. That being said, I will be contacting your staff in regards to MS Awareness Month, which is in March. And usually I call a month before to get it on the agenda for the month of March. This is a very important month for us because it affects me. It affects many, many other individuals that have my condition. As you see me standing here. You don't know the struggles I have to get up. I recently, just because you follow a journey with me, Disha Vasquez knows about what occurred. I was very, very alarmed and worried because I will try not to cry. I had an MRI of my brain, and as you know, Apodaca, a person that suffers from MS, has an MRI done of the brain once a year. I hadn't had an MRI for maybe 14, 15 years. Because I neglected to see a doctor. So that being said, I started having some problems in my head. And to make a long story short, I had the MRI done, and I thought for sure they would find active lesions, and they did not. They reviewed the scan, and I thank God, we do have a God, that I have no active lesions, and at this time, I'm still in remission. I've been in remission from MS for the last 23 years. So I thank God. And I thank the support of all those that have been behind me and supported me in this challenge that I have. Now, I had an issue with the security guard here, Ruben. I think I sent a text to Dina. I'm not the only one that's complaining. There's at times when I call, and no one picks up the phone. I understand he races in other departments, but as far as being a former department head, there should be somebody at that station at all times answering the phone, because that's the first person we speak with. And so when I have to keep calling and nobody's picking up the phone, maybe there's always room for improvement. You understand? There's always room for improvement, Kevin Hunt. So that being said, I understand I hope, and I don't know what I just got here, so I didn't read the agenda till now, but I understand the legal counsel is in closed session. I don't know what that's all about, but I hope and pray that we keep our legal counsel. I've always admired him, and I hopefully, we don't plan, because this is what I'm hearing, rumor has it, that they want to bring in former counsel Arnold Glassman. So I don't know how true that is, but as I stated, I'll be here continuously, and I'll continue being the watchdog of Central Basin. So that being said, I guess I'll address issues with the staff later on today or during the week, and I do thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 standing ovation awards and 3 service awards. The first standing ovation is for Kevin Wadier. Kevin, could you come up?
Thank you.
Well, we've always talked about how fortunate we have Kevin, but actually seeing his performance in action has been wonderful. His outstanding support for Central Basin, representing district on water policy issues, particularly the statewide water conservation framework and its potential impact on our retail agencies. Kevin was right in the thick of it, influential in guiding the policy and helping to keep the state from getting further into our operational data in the districts. He also provides technical expertise on Let's Regional Recycled Water Project. Let's Treated Water Surcharge, a very complex issue, very politically sensitive. He's been on the steering committee for that. His English knowledge is essential to us, and so we've been just absolutely wonderful to have him here. So I won't read the detail. I just want to tell you thank you very much. We appreciate you. The next one is Sandy Linares Plimpton. And this is one where they said it couldn't be done and she did it. As you recall, in about 50 grand, the late start, all of a sudden we had to spend all the money by the end of the year and do it in a professional, workmanlike manner. And in accordance with all of our protocols and guidelines, Sandy's exceptional performance and dedication on Central Basin was best shown by the ability to successfully manage and implement the grant program on this. Every single facility that we did was quality control. Every single one was out and checked. That was Sandy doing it one by one. Meeting with the different agencies, diffusing with in one case, a field superintendent had a rather combative approach and didn't believe any of it should be done. By the end of the thing, he was asking for when we could do more. So it was a wonderful performance and a very stressful one. Everything was done on time, was in without billing the last of it, close cooperation with the finance department, the rest of her team there. So Sandy, thank you for outstanding work.
You're welcome.
And we do have a couple of service awards. This one, Red Valley. Right here. So that finishes 2 years with the district. Thank you, ma'am. Keep up the hard work. Okay? Thank you. And second, lady who I've worked very closely with the last couple of years, Tina Hidalgo. It's been 6 years with the district, so thank you for the 6 years of hard work. And last but not least, the lady I used to get to work with until Captain Wadier came along, Tammy Herman. This young lady's done 10 years of service with us.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Yeah. I want to thank everyone for their time here at Central Basin Leaders of Service, and want to give a special thank you to Kevin Wadier, who's been very helpful to us, not just, with working with the purveyors here at Central Basin, also being someone who has helped us navigate the Metropolitan Water District and the issues that we have before that agency. And of course, I want to give an extra special thank you to Sandy, who is always, hustling, and she's really works very well with our the cities that we service, and she always has such a wonderful attitude, and I really appreciate that. Even during difficult situations, she's a great problem solver. She remains on task. I mean, she's just really overall great, and I always hear a lot of wonderful things from a lot of our cities about Sandy. So, these standing ovations are very well deserved, and I thank everyone for their service here at Central Basin. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, MWD. Update.
Good morning, directors. I have a couple of things I want to mention to you for...
Wait a minute, is the rain going to continue?
There's a couple areas to mention related to interest to Central Basin here, metropolitan activities. So one is the 2017-18 legislative priorities. Last month, the board had approved the federal and state legislative priorities for 2017 and 18. This was brought to their committee last month in December. So in January, they had adopted that. With respect to a master revenue bond resolution, the board had adopted a 22nd supplemental resolution to the master revenue bond, authorizing issuance of $80 million of water revenue bonds and approval of expenditures to fund the cost of issuance. The proceeds would be used to pay for the CIP expenditures, primarily for fiscal year 2016 and 17. And the largest CIP expenditures are for the infrastructure reliability and the water quality projects. One other item is extension of the Water Conservation Awareness Campaign. So this month in January, the board had authorized an extension of the current contract for Water Conservation Awareness advertising campaign to go through March 2018, along with increasing the maximum payable by not to exceed $12.5 million. And this is in an effort to maintain and sustain a high public awareness and support for water conservation. The campaign will continue during the winter 2017 and spring 2018 months. And the campaign would continue using multiple language with outreach in community-based organizations and high visibility areas. And then one last thing I just want to bring to your attention. The management team at Metropolitan brought to the attention of the member agencies of a letter that the San Diego County Water Authority has sent to local officials throughout the area, criticizing Metropolitan Board for a series of actions that they have taken over the last few years in responding to historic drought conditions, promoting water conservation, and maintaining sound financial footing. Metropolitan warns that the letter contains misleading information about the conservation program, and it draws erroneous conclusions and calls to question the integrity of the Metropolitan directors in making difficult and thoughtful decisions to address the unprecedented condition for Southern California water agencies. So last week, Metropolitan had responded to the San Diego County Water Authority with accurate information and also provided a fact sheet on the conservation programs and achievements that have been resulted from these investments. So a copy of this letter will be provided to you as well for your information and awareness. It also includes talking points and, as I mentioned, more detailed, accurate information. So that's all I have, unless you have any other questions.
Thank you.
It's really great to hear that a public agency is making an effort to make accurate representations when, you have individuals that are making inaccurate presentations about the things that are happening at the Metropolitan Water District. So I'm really happy that we're doing that. It's very important for the public to understand and to get factual information about what's happening at the Metropolitan Water District. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Director Buster, do you have any other comments on MWD at all?
Yeah, we had an inspection trip this week to the State Water Project, and it was really a great trip. We had about, I think, 32 residents, between 32 and 34. It was very successful, and Priscilla did a great job. We had a little glitch in a trip, and she handled it very well. And the next one is March the 31st, and I want to invite the staff. We have a couple of new staff members if they're interested in attending. It would be a great opportunity to, see the water infrastructure up at the Colorado River and kind of the relationship between Central Basin and the Metropolitan Water District. So I invite the staff and anyone else who is here who is interested in attending it's March 31st through April the 2nd. And please contact Kelsey Colwyn if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a short comment that MWD directors overall are pleased that we have rain. So other than that, everything is pretty well going. So we have our annual board reorganization, and the officers are for president and vice president, and I'd like to open it up for president and have nominations.
I'd like to nominate Phil Hawkins for president.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to nominate Bob Apodaca as president.
Second that.
Isn't there?
Since there was a first motion, do we take a vote on that first and then go on to the subsequent? Because we did have a first and second.
Yeah, we have the first and second, so we have to deal with that one first.
Okay. So for President as Director Hawkins, we had a motion by Director Chacon, second by Director Aceituno. Roll call would be Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
No?
Director Aceituno?
Yes.
President Apodaca?
No. Election of vice president.
I'd also like to make a nomination. I'd like to nominate Director Aceituno.
I'll second that.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Aceituno?
Abstain.
Director Apodaca?
Abstain.
That's we have to have three.
We need three.
We have three.
We have three. Could you read the vote again?
For Vice President?
Yes.
So the motion was made by Director Chacon to nominate Director Aceituno as Vice President. It was seconded by Director Hawkins. We have three yes. Director Hawkins, Chacon, and Vasquez said yes. And we had an abstention by Director Aceituno and Director Apodaca.
That passes.
So what is it?
So now we change things. For government list.
Next, the Metropolitan Water District representatives.
Can you repeat that?
Next up, election of Metropolitan Water District representatives.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Phil Hawkins.
As a Met representative?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Abstain?
Director Aceituno?
Yes.
Director Apodaca?
Abstain.
So there's two seats on the Metropolitan Board.
I'd like to make another nomination for the second one.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Aceituno, Director.
I'll second that.
Okay. Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
Yes?
Director Aceituno?
Abstain.
Director Apodaca?
Abstain.
So for the record, given that we have two new members to the Metropolitan, the resolution will state that Director Hawkins and Director Aceituno will be taking the seats of Director Apodaca and Director Vasquez on the Metropolitan Board.
We recess, what's that?
We reorganize now, the new president
Takes over now?
We can change that. We don't have to do it right now.
Yeah, we can.
We'll do it at the end of the meeting?
I should take over.
We can wait till the end.
Go ahead, it's okay.
Director Hawkins, in this case, since we are on the recess of the Financing Corporation, you would just need to read that script.
Okay, recess to the Central Basin Municipal Water District Financing Corporation meeting. May I have a motion to open the Central Basin Municipal Water District Finance Corporation Board meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have-
I'll second.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez? Yes. Director Aceituno?
Yes.
Director Apodaca?
Abstain.
The meeting is now open. A, determine a quorum.
We have a quorum.
Public comments. Seeing none. C, election of board officers for president and vice president of the Financial Corporation. Looking for nominations.
It could be the confirmation of your current officers.
Okay, if that's acceptable, we can make the officers the same as our board meeting.
Okay, who would those officers be?
That would be Director.
Mr. Tuno.
I make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay. Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez? Would you repeat the motion? It's to confirm the officers of the board, being Director Hawkins as president and Director Aceituno as vice president. Yes. Director Aceituno?
Yes.
Director Apodaca?
Yes.
Okay, election of legal counsel.
This is, again, just confirmation of our current council.
Okay, we just,
Wait a minute, are we going to discuss that, or what is that? Just wait.
No, this is just confirming of our officers and legal counsel, so it's not approving anything, it's just confirmation of it.
Okay, that's fine. I make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Director Hawkins?
yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez? Yes. Director Aceituno?
Yes.
Director Apodaca?
Yes.
May I have a motion to adjourn the Central Basin Municipal Water District Financial Corporation Board meeting?
So motion. I'll second that.
Okay. Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez? Yes. Director Aceituno?
Yes.
Director Apodaca?
Yes.
This meeting is now adjourned.
Now we move on to the consent calendar.
Reconvene to the Central Basin Municipal Water District Board meeting agenda. Okay, we're down to the consent calendar. We have consent calendar items which are 6 through 12. Is there any questions, comments on those from the board?
6 through 12. Is that also including the bill announcement?
The demands? The demands are...
I'd like to pull that item.
You'd like to pull the demands?
Correct.
For discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Would the board like to take, pass the consent calendar with the exception of the demands for discussion?
Correct.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez? Yes. Director Aceituno?
Yes.
Director Apodaca?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other questions concerned with items 6 through 12 on the consent calendar? And if there is none, I'm looking for a motion to pass the consent calendar.
I'll make the motion.
We just took that motion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now it would be, if you'd like to discuss the demands, we could do that now and then take a motion to see if you'd like to adjourn.
Okay, well, can we do this at a later time?
It's at the discretion of the board.
Excuse me?
They pulled the demands for discussion,
Yes.
so,
We're supposed to discuss.
yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to bring it up?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's what you pulled it up for, right?
Okay. My concerns are the billing. I need to know what we're being billed for, and not just get something, with a number.
On which item, Director?
On the billings from October till today.
For which?
For NASMA.
Oh, for NASMA. Okay. The billings for October through today cover two legal services bills for October, November, and a final invoice for lobbyist services. I'd be glad to go over the legal bills in detail with you afterwards if you'd like.
Afterwards?
Well, legal bills are normally not...
Well, that's why I was asking if I should bring it up now.
Yeah,
okay, that's fine.
We'll go over afterwards if that's okay with you. We'll hold them in advance and bring them up. It won't hurt to bring them later, but we'll hold them in advance, go over them, and I'll go over with you afterwards if you have concerns about it. Go through what the expenditures were.
If you don't mind, maybe we can do this in closed session.
Is that, we're going to be, actually, we can. That'd be great. We'll do that, we have a closed session scheduled, we'll do it in there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So we will not be voting on receiving and filing the demands just yet?
No,
No, okay.
at this time, yeah.
Okay.
So do we have a motion and a second to vote on the consent calendar, or do we need?
We already took care of that. So we took a motion on passing everything on the consent calendar with the...
For the items that we pulled?
Yes.
Okay, so you're ready to call the roll then?
We already took care of that portion, yes. So now we're on to...
We're finished with items with the consent calendar.
Yes, sir.
Going on down to the action calendar, which is item number 13, approval of contract on call as needed, engineering, design, and technical services. Amount of $150,000 for each. Jackie Bell.
Yes, good morning. Design for recycled water supply pipelines and retrofit design for some recycled water sites to be connected to the district system are needed in order to expand current recycled water sales. The district relies on recycled water sales, and because of its importance, Kevin and staff have recycled water connections and expansions as a top priority. Donald, Joe with Liberty Utilities, and others in the engineering department have been working very hard to plan for connecting more recycled sites to recycled water. Staff has the ability to connect some recycled water sites. However, as is, we do not have the ability or the availability to complete much of the work that is needed. An example of this that I wanted to provide for you guys today was CAD design. And so staff is capable of using CAD software. However, using it to complete a full pipeline design is not something staff are currently able to do. And this is something that design consultants can do for us because it is what they do every day under license. With that said, in order to reach district sales goals, engineering and technical consulting services are the missing link to be able to expand the existing system. Consulting services will bridge the gap that we currently have with the work that Donald, Joe, and other engineering staff within the department are doing for customer development. In response to this need that has been identified, staff developed a request for proposals, or RFP, for on-call as-needed engineering and design services. And this is to design shorter segments of pipeline, and this is typically under 1 mile. The RFP and one addendum are attached to this item as Exhibit A and B, respectively. So moving to the procurement process for RFP number 165, it was publicly advertised per the district's procurement policy, and this was on December 5th of 2016. It was posted to the district's website. It was emailed to 36 consultants. It was received by those who had registered with the district as a vendor on the district's website, and notice was posted on the district's social media channels, and this is Twitter and Facebook. The original proposal due date was December 20th, and this was per the district's procurement policy. Considering the holidays and an effort to obtain as many proposals as possible, staff extended the due date to January 10th of this year, which is Amendment 1. On January 10th, 2017, staff received 12 proposals from consulting firms, and those are listed in Table 2 of your memo. Staff feel this is a very successful response. Staff have evaluated the proposals received, and this was with the help of one of the district's water purveyors, and that was the San Gabriel Valley Water Company. So we'd like to thank them for their help. There were 4 consulting firms that scored the highest in the evaluation process. There were 2 pairs of tied scores. Tetra Tech and GHD tied for the highest score. West Yost and Arcadis tied for the second highest score, and this was after we added up everyone's scoring sheets from staff and San Gabriel Valley Water Company. And so from that, the review panel agreed to recommend contract awards to the 2 firms that currently do not have work with the district, and so those 2 firms are GHD and Arcadis. Selecting more than one firm will provide more flexibility and staffing availability with a number of small capital projects. And so what staff have done is set a $300,000 budget for this work, which aligns with the current needs, the design needs that we have for our smaller projects that have been identified to date. Funding for this work has been included already in the approved 2016-2017 fiscal year capital improvements projects plan budget in the amount of $120,000, and staff plans to budget $180,000 for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. And so I'd like to call attention to the board that the funding would be expended over a contract 2-year term. And so this means if contracts are awarded, you will be making a commitment to approve funding for the up-and-coming fiscal year budget, 2017-2018. And so with that said, the recommended motion is that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a contract with, number 1, GHD to provide on-call as needed engineering, design, and technical services for an amount not to exceed $150,000 without contingency. And number 2, Arcadis to provide on-call as needed engineering, design, and technical services for an amount not to exceed $150,000 also without contingency.
I got a question on that, Jackie.
Yes.
You said Tetra Tech and somebody else were number 1?
West Yost, correct. They were tied for number 1.
Okay.
Tied.
Hold on. But yet, they cannot get it?
Let me explain a little bit further, and I'm sorry for that, I misspoke.
At the wrong 2 was Tetra Tech and GHD were number 1, I believe.
Tetra Tech, yes, and GHD were number 1, and then tied for number 2 was Arcadis and West Yost.
Okay, so why cannot we go with the ones that qualify for number 1?
Well, staff and when we went through the evaluation process, we figured that it might be good to try some other new consultants out, and so we figured that we would award it to the 2 consulting firms that don't already have work with the district. Tetra Tech and West Yost already have current contracts with the district for design services.
So why were they allowed to bid?
I'm sorry, what was your...
Why were they allowed to bid?
Well, it's open to the public, and so they're allowed to bid should they decide they want to.
I think it's kind of unfair that we allow them to bid, and they did come out number 1, but yet we're not allowing them to get the work.
They tied for number 1, yes.
But the director has a point, if I might explain.
Yes.
In the particular case of Tetra Tech, they have a large contract with us, and we're already negotiating and have talked about the need to add a pump station or reservoir, which would be a large addition. So I'm worried about them ability to handle all of the work that we're going to be giving them on that one contract and still do the little one on the side. That happened subsequent to the posting of the RFP.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but if they were not allowed to do the work, I don't think they would have bidded on the work.
Yeah, I think you're right. At that time, but we didn't have the detailed discussion on the thing until actually late December about the need for the pump station and reservoir. If you remember in the engineering committee, we talked about that.
Okay.
So that's why.
I'd like to make a motion that we go with Tetra Tech.
You want to go with Tetra Tech and GHD instead of...
Correct.
Instead of Arcadis and...
Yes.
Because they're
the reason is because
first.
They did make number 1 list. And I believe that if they were not able to do the work, they would have applied for the work.
Yeah, and don't be wrong, they're perfectly capable of doing the work. I was concerned about the amount of work with the extra that we're going to be asking them to do in terms of a reservoir and a pump station. But again, it's the board's pleasure either way.
Okay. So I make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Director Hawkins?
Yes.
Director Chacon?
Yes.
Director Vasquez?
I just want to make a statement. I am going to vote no on this because I'd like to go with the staff's recommendation. I don't think that it's appropriate for board members to meddle in the contracting practices of the agency. I think that's one of the reasons why there had been issues in the past. And so my vote is a no.
And I agree with Director Vasquez, but nobody's meddling. We're here, it's come before us, and we're taking a vote, and that's my vote.
Director Aceituno?
I just want to say something before I vote. I think I have to agree the fact that they finished in the top, tied for first, and they weren't given the information that they might not be able to do the work based on work that potentially the district may be giving them. I think that since they're currently doing the work with the district already, and what's been their performance?
Outstanding, not a problem.
So I think we should have given them the courtesy then ahead of time, anticipating that they're going to be doing some work in the pump, the new pump system, whether or not they would be able to fulfill the obligations of the pump, and potentially, if they were selected as one of the engineering firms for this project, whether or not they can fulfill both commitments. So with that, I would have to agree with my colleagues. I don't think we're necessarily meddling. I think it's fairness that they should have been given more information, whether or not that would preclude them from moving forward on fulfilling both commitments. I would have to say yes.
Director Apodaca?
I'd have to go along with Director Vasquez's comment about staff's recommendation. I also like to add that we're going back to where we were 2 years ago, in the negativism of this, the takeover of this, and I will continue to vote no like I always have, to show in my community they would take no part of this.
Motion. Okay. So just to summarize, then, the motion passes 3-2 with the contract be awarded to GHD and Tetra Tech.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Item number 14. Administrative update. Joseph.
Good morning, directors. I'll be providing this month's legislative update. Would like to follow up briefly on what Tammy's MWD report was on legislative priorities at the Metropolitan Water District. Just briefly, what they did earlier this month is they separated out federal from state, and some of the top federal priorities are ensuring that California water rights with respect to the protection of California water rights with respect to the Colorado River, maintaining funding for water science and data collection, and securing financing for water infrastructure, efficiency and restoration projects. At the state level, the Met wants to ensure that progress on the California Water Fix and Eco Restore continues, advancing infrastructure that reflects a beneficiary pay principle, advancing policies that promote new local water infrastructure projects such as recycling, and advancing state policy on water use efficiency that respects local investments while updating targets beyond 2020. At the state level, the 17-18 legislative session has begun. We do know that the legislature has reconvened as of January 4th. Governor Brown has submitted a budget bill. Both the Senate Pro Tem and Assembly Speaker have announced their leadership teams and committee chairs, and the Senator De Leon remains as Senator as Senate Pro Tem. Ricardo Lara was reappointed to serve as Chair of Appropriations. Ed Hernandez has been appointed to serve as Chair of Health and Legislative Ethics. Tony Mendoza has been appointed Chair of Insurance. Stephen Bradford has been appointed Chair of Labor and Industrial Relations. And with respect to the Senate's Committee on Natural Resources and Water, Bob Hertzberg was appointed chair. On the Assembly side, Anthony Rendon remains as Speaker, Ian Calderon was named Majority Leader, and Mike Gibson was appointed Democratic Caucus Chair. With respect to our service area and members who are now serving in chairmanships in the Assembly, Miguel Santiago was appointed Chair of the Communications and Conveyance Committee. Patrick O'Donnell was appointed Chair of Education. Cristina Garcia was appointed Chair of Natural Resources. Ed Chow was appointed Chair of Privacy and Consumer Protection. Reggie Jones-Sawyer was appointed Chair of Public Safety. And with respect to the Water, Parks, and Wildlife Committee in the Assembly, Eduardo Garcia from Coachella was named Chair of that committee. As mentioned earlier, the Governor has released his 17-18 budget. District staff will be going over this at the February committee. We're also taking a look at legislation that is being introduced that would impact water, and that will also be discussed at February committee. As an FYI, ACWA will be holding their 2017 Legislative Symposium on March 8th, 2007 in Sacramento, so we'll be following up with directors to gauge interest in attending that. At the federal level, in December 2016, then President Obama signed the Water Infrastructure and Improvement for the Nation Act. The measure includes the Water Resources Development Act of 2016, some of Senator Feinstein's prior drought legislation. Some key features of the legislation are the authorization of numerous water-related projects in California, groundwater recharge projects, water recycling projects, $515 million for storage, water recycling, and desalination projects in California. And one key part also makes Title 16 the water recycling program a competitive grant that would remove the requirement for each project to be individually authorized by Congress. Also, as an FYI, ACWA's federal conference will be taking place February 28th through March 2nd. Staff will also be following up with directors to gauge interest in attendance to that. So unless there are any questions, that is the legislative update for January. Any questions? Alrighty, well, thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Okay, item number 15 is discussion of recycled water.
Yes, good morning again, directors. This will be an update on a few areas related to recycled water customer development. To begin, I have a brief update on the first item, which is the standardized feasibility analysis for recycled water customer connections. Staff are working to develop an Excel tool, and this is to calculate the estimated construction costs for recycled water supply pipelines, and in addition, service connections and on-site retrofit costs. Staff plan to have the end result be user-friendly and easily understandable, and the final product should be ready sometime early in February, with it being over 80% complete at this time. And this is something similar to what was gone over at the Engineering Operations Committee last month, the Excel spreadsheet. I will also provide updates for sites today, which will have an active status at this time. Sites not covered are either still under feasibility analysis, are currently on hold, or are being handled by other agencies at this time. To begin, I'm happy to report that Caltrans has two customer connections that have come up recently, and this is for Soundwall irrigation along the I-5 freeway and embankment irrigation as well. The first site is in the city of Norwalk for 4 acre-feet. Caltrans is currently installing the irrigation system and a mow strip to separate the system from residential housing in the area. Liberty Utilities will be handling the mainline tapping work for Caltrans and on our behalf. The district and Caltrans are looking to split the costs of about $10,000 to connect the site, and so currently staff are developing an agreement for cost sharing, and we will be working with legal counsel to do this, and the connection work should take place sometime early February. The second site is in the city of Santa Fe Springs for less than 1 acre-foot per year. Caltrans is actually handling all the mainline tapping work for us, which is great. Liberty Utilities will be on site inspecting the work, and this should also be taking place either this week or next week as well. Norwalk Golf Course for an estimated 50 acre-feet per year. No lateral is needed, and this was actually a previously connected site. This site is undergoing a complete renovation and will reconnect to the district's recycled water system sometime in April. And work has stopped in December and much of this month, actually, to focus on the clubhouse, but it will be picking back up very shortly. The third site is Acuna Park, and this is in the city of Montebello for 13 acre-feet per year. This site also does not need a service lateral. However, it does need retrofits. The city has asked the district to complete this work for them, and staff are currently working on agreement for this request as well. And staff are also working to procure a contractor to complete the work needed, and the target connection date is June of this year. And lastly, I'd like to mention UTC Aerospace in Santa Fe Springs, and this is for an estimated 135 acre-feet per year. A pipeline of approximately 1,600 feet is required to connect the site. This will be the first design project for the On-Call Engineering and Design Consultants that was just approved. With design starting next month, staff anticipate the site will be connected by October of 2017. And that concludes my update, unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Item number 16. La Mirada Recycled Water Pipeline.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is my item. Recycled water pipeline design by Tetra Tech is going along really well. During the course of design, it's been analyzed that in order to meet the hydraulic grade necessary to provide the level of service for the city of La Mirada recycled water expansion, we'll need a pump station and a reservoir to meet the demands of the city of La Mirada, this new extension. Staff met with Tetra Tech in their offices, and it was a quite lengthy discussion about the need because there's extensive costs for these two items. It was decided during that time that we would be best served, the district would be best served by requesting a preliminary design report specifically for these items, the pump station and the reservoir. In the board item, you can see the item that it was prepared in the schedule. The purpose of that is to verify that indeed what is needed and the steps to get there. Tetra Tech is highly qualified to do this. They're doing the design for the pipeline of extensions, but this is in addition to the existing. Jackie Coons, my colleague, she went the country mile for us in-house and did a really qualitative value engineering on the existing pipeline project, and with some paring back of some of the pipeline extension, the existing pipeline extension and reconfiguration, along with working with Tetra Tech, it was determined that we should go about this in a stepwise fashion, and that a preliminary design report by Tetra Tech would be the way to go. So without looking for a change in scope per se, we reallocated to new tasks to do and perform that, and with the general manager's approval, we've asked Tetra Tech to provide this preliminary design report. Now, this preliminary design report is a no-cost report or total cost change. It's within the current budget that has been board approved, and Tetra Tech has made that fit with their existing, with the existing approved board budget. You can see in the board memorandum they will prepare, they'll meet with the city of La Mirada, meeting with the city of La Mirada and with the local water purveyor suburban water systems. These are important because at the end of the day, it's within the city of La Mirada, and the local water purveyor is suburban water systems for the entire city of La Mirada. Got them on board. They're preparing a draft memorandum now as to where we're at and where we're going with this and what is needed. Meeting with the city and the district, they will provide this final memorandum first part of February. And one of the other things they're going to be doing as part of this reallocation of tasks is a rendering so as to be able to show and demonstrate something in reality of a rendering of above the pump station and reservoir, because these are going to be visual. They'll be above grade. Pipelines are, notorious. They're out of sight, out of mind. But a pump station and a reservoir will not be below grade. A portion of the reservoir is anticipated to be below surface, partially buried, that is. And the reservoir, or the pump station, while it will not be a complete building, it too will need to be screened so as to provide aesthetics for the community. And so this is very important, and we met with the City of La Mirada, the Public Works Director, and get the confines and the discrete needs for the city for what we need to do and provide to the City of La Mirada, because it's going to be very visual within the City of La Mirada. Along with any changes we do, we want to make sure we've got the city on board with this as we go along the way. Another main thing that we need to be ready for is with this rendering, when we start getting more our public affairs folks here at the district, the external will be meeting with city officials and the like, and this rendering will go a long way to visually express what this district's up to with respect to constructing a pipeline, pump station, and a reservoir within the confines of the city of La Mirada. So we want to be ably prepared. So this particular informational item is a show and to demonstrate what staff has been up to with the city of La Mirada pipeline extension, which we're looking at this preliminary design. And with that, coming with the preliminary design will come the cost estimate schedule for the construction of the reservoir and the pump station. It's anticipated it'll be significant costs, as was mentioned earlier, and the work for Tetra Tech. We talked about it internally, and we believe they would be the most likely candidate to do the work for the pipeline or for the pump station reservoir. They have the hydraulics, they have the design of the new pipelines, and it best serve the district for Tetra Tech to also do that work. That's not been decided. That'll be brought forward to committee next month to discuss further the needs for that and the costs we will have sometime along that way, and then you'll see what the anticipated additional costs for the reservoir and the pump station will be. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Questions? Have you talked to the elected officials? Are they on board with all this?
We talked to the representative, city manager, and with the Public Works Director, who's been bringing the item forward with their planning commission and the like. So the people there are aware of this. The disruption, they look to the Public Works Director because of the disruption to city.
The question was elected officials. The answer is not yet. That's what the rendering will help us with. We'll take that to the planning commission and probably to the city council to show them what the effects are.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we didn't have any opposition to all this kind of work, and we have opposition there.
Not yet.
Make sure that they were on board.
Not yet. We have not specifically sat down with city elected officials. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 17, discussion of agreement with Los Angeles Gateway Regional Integrated Water Management Authority.
That's my item also, Mr. President. The purpose of bringing this forward is to provide a project update. Most specifically, we have now gone under contract for two portions of the subrecipient agreement for the City of Bell Gardens improvements and the City of Linwood. The third leg of the stool, if you will, is the City of Southgate. We've been under constant negotiations with them. We'll be putting an RFP. We put an RFP together, but since we've already done the RFP for the small projects, this is just an additional one. We're going to limit it to that group to but to offer professional services for. Bidding is done for construction contracts. It's not done for professional services. So you got to be careful with the word bid. City of Southgate has settled in on the route on Southern Avenue, and we've been working with the City of Southgate. It's a substantial improvement for the City of Southgate, and we look to bring that forward, and we're going to bring that forward in committee in February also. Specifically, it's about, I think it's about 15,000 lineal feet of pipeline within the city of Southgate to service their recycled water needs into the future. With that, if you have any questions on that item.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on to item number 18, discussion regarding pipeline. I thought we just did that. This is fire.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, directors. I have some slides describing the environmental process we're following for the La Mirada Recycled Water Expansion Project. Okay. So Aspen Environmental Group is a consultant that we have for providing all the environmental documentation for necessary requirements to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. They're currently working on preparing environmental documentation needed for the application of Prop 1 grant funding. So far, staff has submitted notification letters to the tribes that we had on the list from the Native American Heritage Commission. From there, we submitted the letters on January 13. The tribes have 30 days to respond, and if we get any responses, then we'll provide comments back to them. Aspen is also preparing an initial study. Right now they're working on an initial study. They prepared an initial study outline. They continue working on draft initial study for right now. The initial study compiles project information, environmental determination, evaluation of environmental impacts, and the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan. Once they complete the initial study draft, they'll provide it to us for comments. We'll provide comments, and then from there it will be finalized. Once the initial study is finalized, we'll provide an update to the board as far as what the level of determination will be for compliance that we need to provide for CEQA. Right now we're looking at two levels: M&D, mitigated negative declaration, or the full EIR, environmental impact report. At this point, we're anticipating for this project to have a mitigated negative declaration as the ultimate level of compliance for CEQA, which requires much less work than the full EIR. Once it gets determined that we're moving forward with the M&D, Aspen will prepare an M&D draft for district staff to review it. Once we provide our comments back, the M&D will be finalized. Once the M&D is finalized, a notice of intent will be prepared and attached to the M&D, and then it will go out for distribution to public agencies, as well as the state clearinghouse for comments for a review period of 30 days. Once the 30-day review period has passed, district staff and consultant will prepare a memo addressing any comments that we receive. And once all the comments are compiled, staff will bring up to the board the mitigated negative declaration report for approval. Once it gets approved, staff will submit a notice of determination with the county clerk and the state clearinghouse within 5 days of the board's approval. Once it's approved, the CEQA process is completed. If you guys have any questions,
I have one. The title of this is La Mirada Recycled Water, but the first two items are Native American Heritage and Tribal Notification. Is there any participation there?
No, it's part of the process to comply with CEQA for the project. There's this law that passed, AB 52, and as part of that, we have to notify any tribes that are within the area. Any tribes that submitted letters to us saying, keep us on your list whenever you have a project, get back to us. We have to comply with that every time we have a project of this magnitude. But for right now, we send a letter to the Native American Heritage Commission, and they send us a list of tribes to send out the letters. If they have any comments, they'll get back to us within 30 days. If they don't have any comments, then the process is closed. But it's part of the whole CEQA process, yeah.
Questions? Okay, we'll go on to item number 19. The which is discussion and information in the Department of Water Resources, Conservation Prop 50 grant.
Good morning, Director and Directors. This is my item. I'm so thrilled to be able to present this to you because it is the grant that we just completed in December. So I actually have a PowerPoint to share with all of you. So the physical aspect of this project is what is completed. We haven't collected the reimbursement as of yet, and I'll share some more information about that a little bit later. But here you'll see what we physically did, what our funds did, what we did with the funds from the Prop 50. So we completed 28 sites. We actually audited 35. The reason being that we weren't able to do the retrofits on all the sites was basically due to funding. A lot of these schools that we went in and did audits and retrofits at haven't had any sort of toilets, updates on their toilets or urinals, and especially their outdoor irrigation. They did not have weather-based irrigation controllers. So that's why you'll see the numbers are uneven, but we still made a huge impact at all of these schools in these cities. So what did we do? Our updated device count is 21 controllers. So these are weather-based irrigation controllers. So for example, right now, these controllers would override in case they were scheduled to water today because of the rain that we received. It measures moisture in the atmosphere. We installed over 4,000 nozzles. These are sprinkler nozzles. 279 toilets were installed, 92 urinals. Waterless urinals were 6. Those are actually in Paramount City Hall. And 236 aerators. Aerators it's a little mechanism that goes on the tip of a faucet. So that's what we did in a lot of these classrooms. So on my memo, you'll see the list of all of the schools and the cities that we partnered with, that we helped them. We did have one nonprofit, and that was the Boys and Girls Club. In the City of Commerce, you'll see that we did parks. We did their community center, their senior center. In the City of Paramount, we did their City Hall and Progress Park. In Signal Hill, you'll see most of them are all park locations. Lowell Joint School District, we did schools there, as well as their district office. South Whittier School District only submitted one school, and so we only did one there, and that's McKibben Elementary. Whittier School District, we did elementary and middle schools. Compton, we did Lincoln Drew and Carver Elementary, and the City of Norwalk, the Social Services Building, and Alondra Elementary. Overall, these agencies were thrilled to partner with us, especially with the state mandates on lowering their consumption of potable water, and they're excited to also be part of Prop 84. We had to limit the amount of retrofits per applicant just to be able to have funds available to help multiple agencies. So as you see, that's why there's only so many per applicant. As far as fiscal impacts, we currently have both ARC claims 1, 2, and 3 that have been approved by DWR. That amount is $584,040.48. They have given us both a verbal and a written approval of those claims, but we haven't received the check as of yet. So we are on pins and needles waiting for that check to arrive. But that concludes our grants and our grant success, as I like to add. And it was a team effort among the cities, the schools, the vendor. We used Ecotech Services. They did a wonderful job. And we also, as part of our PLA, used a local plumber out of Norwalk.
I just have a question. Go ahead. So a total of 35 sites were inspected and only 29 were funded based on the funds available. Moving forward, if we were to get additional funds, the 6 that weren't able to obtain any retrofits, are they like on top of the list? Or?
Yes. So luckily we do have Prop 84. I'll be starting that shortly. I'll have some information on that later on. And those folks that we weren't able to do do the actual retrofit, because we have the audit, they will go on the top of the list. And we also have applicants that did apply for this grant, and we were unable to reach them, and they will be put on the priority list for Prop 84. So it's my professional conservation goal to, and I've mentioned this to Kevin, we've talked about it in Tammy, is we'd like to see all of our public agencies, both cities and schools, have the opportunity to participate in a grant like this because their infrastructure is so old. So our efforts will be to continue applying for these type of grants until all of our public agencies, all of our schools have had an opportunity to get new equipment and to be more efficient overall. Even though it's raining, I'm sure maybe 10 or 20 years from now we'll get another drought, so we just have to be prepared. Any other questions?
Okay, that was my question too. You said this one was finished, so the grant 50, we're done with that as soon as you get that check.
Yes.
And then the 84 kicks in. Do you know when that one starts kicking in, or are we fairly close to that?
So we did, well, Director Hawkins, if you don't mind, may I answer that question when that item comes up, because I do have an update on Prop 84.
Oh, okay.
I do. And I'm sorry, actually, I do have before and after photos. You had requested these. So these are some photos before and after. This is what the previous weather-based irrigation controller looked like, and an after photo. So as you can see, it looks much better, works more efficient. Here are some of the water waste that we experienced. As you can see, a lot of broken pipes, overwatering, having the incorrect nozzles placed at certain locations. Now they have nozzles where you can set them at 80 degrees, 180 degrees, or 360, so depending on what areas you need to water. Here you'll see some new nozzles that are turned on. As you can see, they can be set. There's so many nozzles now as far as the degrees and the distance as far as area that you need to cover. You'll see some nice pretty grass there. These are the aerators that I mentioned earlier, before and after. And here are some toilets. It was actually really neat to go and do our self-audit as far as verifying all the installations, because we did quite a few little potties for little kids. That's the picture in the middle. That was really neat to see. We did a bunch of, quite a few kindergarten and first grade restrooms. And as you can see too on the third photo, we did recycle the old toilets.
What is recycling, like how does that happen with the ceramic?
So they actually break it down and it turns into a ground cover. They mix it with other product. So like decomposed granite is one of the examples of what they do with the porcelain. But they mix it with other products and then as well as for the grout in your tiles, they also mix it in for that type of material as well. Here you'll see the urinals. This is a before and a during the retrofit and an after. This is the waterless urinal that we installed at the City Hall on Paramount. And that concludes my report. If there's no other questions.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Okay, item number 20, which is sewage line repair.
Yes, sir, we get to go from toilets to talking about sewage now. As you may recall, there was an outage at the district's toilet facilities in the middle of December, which resulted in a 5-day repair. As a result of that, we lost 1 full day of service almost, and we had to bring in portable units for our staff and also for the board meeting that we had following it. The reason for that, and I'm going to get into the sewer design itself at the district, there were some reasons behind that. The first is that we have a 450-foot private system here at the district's headquarters. And what that means is that we have a pump downstairs that pumps out 450 feet before it enters into the public line, which is just near the McDonald's facility. It also extends through Telegraph and Washington. So to do any repairs, we had to do some permits and other things, traffic control, just to look at the line. As I mentioned, we had 5 full days of repair. Another reason for that was due to the weather. At that time, there was some rain that blocked out the ability to get some permits with the county, so they extended it by about 2 days. The total cost for the repairs was $9,978 with Downey Plumbing. That was a capital expense, and that was done under the emergency need clause, which I'll read in a minute from the procurement section. The other portion was from an operational standpoint for the portable units, and that was $1,550. I usually don't do this, but I did this at committee as well. I'm going to read specifically from the procurement policy because it requires us to bring this before the board. Also, I want to read the sections that were included as to why we didn't go out to bid for the repairs. It reads, the procurement policy defines emergency services as repairs and services performed on district facilities that are unplanned, unexpected, and which are essential to the continued operation of the district facilities as determined by the general manager. I think no use of the bathrooms fit. Due to the emergency nature of these services, no additional quotes were obtained for these services. The repair also qualifies under Section 1.10 of the Procurement Code as there was impairments to the property, staff, and the existence of potential health risk. And what I want to mention there is because we had a small pipe break, we did have some leakage or some sewage leaking out into the street, and that does pose a public health risk. So we had to repair it immediately. Going forward, I mentioned the repairs and what we've done. We had the Downey come out and they did some, they repaired the pipe and they hydrojetted the unit so that it's working properly. Going forward though, they have come back to us and told us that they do foresee future issues if we don't do some changes. And staff's currently investigating 4 different options. The first option, which is probably not the recommended one at this point, is to do nothing. Just make repairs as they occur and take our chances and hope that it doesn't break. The second is to add some preventive maintenance features like the hydrojetting on a semi-annual basis or a quarterly basis, whatever recommended, to make sure that that unit keeps working. Even if it's not at 100%, at least we can keep it operational and not lose days of service. The third, which is going to require some engineering help, and we're currently investigating that now, is to replace the line completely. Replace the whole 450 feet of the public side. We got an initial estimate from Downey, which was $180,000, but we want to investigate it further, get an engineering report, and make sure that what they're recommending is the best option for the district if we were to go that route. The last one, which ties into that same, is to relocate the line. Maybe there's a potential to relocate into the public site at a closer distance or at a cheaper cost. And staff's going to continue to investigate these, and we'll bring those forth to the committee as we get some solid recommendations and feel comfortable bringing them forward. So unless there's any questions?
Questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Item number 21 is our phone system upgrade.
Much more in my wheelhouse now. As you know, we've had the phone system on our capital planning to be replaced for the last 2 years. And now it's become more of a necessity because we've had some issues procuring equipment, but we also had some outages that resulted in loss of staff time. And to give you some context behind that, I want to give you some information on our current system. It's over 10 years old. We purchased it in 2006. It's a 3Com system. 3Com is no longer in business. It's an on-site system, meaning all the equipment's on-site. Everything that needs to run, it needs to run is on-site here at the district's headquarters. It lacks mobility features, so right now, based on the current system, it doesn't have the ability to tie in with our mobile phones outside of forwarding calls. Because of this and the issues that I mentioned with outages, we've had 6 outages this month alone. Thankfully, they've only occurred on the weekends due to power issues. These outages have resulted in a loss of time. Every time the power goes out and the unit goes down, it takes 1 to 4 hours to recover. While this down, we have a loss of productivity for our staff, but also our customers are unable to contact us. And that's a major issue for us if we ever have like today with a rainy day, if we had a line break or anything related to that, we would not be able to contact our customers directly based on the numbers they have. Also, there's a potential to have no system. If we have a major failure, because of the inability to find hardware readily, we take a risk of not being able to find the hardware. I've been lucky up to this point where I've been able to find it, but there is a risk that if we have a major failure, we might not find equipment, or we'll pay an exorbitant amount just to get it replaced and reprogrammed. Two things that I want to look at here. In the memo, it wasn't as clear. I want to make sure I make this clear. There's two things we're looking at changing. One is the service, and that's the piece where we get the benefit of not being under being under contract and Telepacific releasing us. That's going from an on-site service to what we call a cloud service. And the reason for this is there's less hardware demands and less demand on having this location up and running for it to operate. It takes less administrative time for updates, support, and things of that nature. It also provides us a third-party provider, a full company, to provide tech support, device management, and training to our staff. In addition, it provides additional features we currently don't have, like the mobility features I mentioned earlier, where our users can leverage cell phones. If the building here was not operational, their cell phones would take calls and get forwarded. And the last portion of this, which is the most important, we're currently under contract for services related to the on-site service for an additional 16 months. Telepacific is offering to release us of that contract if we enter into a cloud-based service with them for 3 years. The difference in cost, it's about $2,000 annually right now that we'd be released of. But as a result, we would take on $300 more in operational costs going forward. We knew this going in. That's not a surprise, but I do want to make it clear. The second piece of this, which is not related to Telepacific, or they're not responsible for directly, is the hardware. 3Com is no longer in business, and the current equipment is not compatible with the cloud-based service. After going to committee, it was recommended, was asked, why do we have to go with hardware with Telepacific? I went and investigated, we don't. So what I did do as a result after going to committee is I seek quotes from vendors. I got 4 quotes, one from Telepacific directly, one from PCMG, one from GovPlace, and one from Polycom Outlet. The good news is the quotes that we received were all in the same range, $18,000 to $19,000. What's even better, Telepacific is willing to take the lowest cost and the responsibility for the hardware. So wherever we found the cheapest cost, they don't care, they'll match the price. But for doing that, and the reason that they want to do that, is they are responsible for the hardware. So should we have an issue, if we buy from a third party, we have to go to the third party to get it replaced, repaired, whatever the issue might be. With them, they will actually take responsibility for the hardware. So there is a benefit there. I think I said all the major pieces here. So unless there's any questions, the reason we're bringing this before you is to make sure we want to take this as a sole source because we will be released from the contract with Telepacific. Because of that, we wanted to bring it forward and make sure that if there was any potential issues or questions that the board might have, that we can answer them before we even get involved with the service provider.
Any questions?
So I just have a question. So if we were to move forward with Telepacific's buying the hardware from them, they take on the liability of the equipment. And how many more years do we have?
It would be a 3-year contract. We would own the hardware initially for the 3 years. After that, they would continue to provide support as part of their service that they're providing to the user. There's no additional cost to that. And it's Polycom hardware. I didn't mention that, but it's Polycom hardware that they're recommending in conjunction with the cloud service. So it's not even their direct hardware.
No further questions.
Okay. The question I have would be sole sourcing. Is this going to cause us any kind of a problem by doing a sole sourcing arm? We've been reprimanded for that in the past. Is this something we will have a problem with?
To me, we've checked with it. This fits within our guidelines as an exception.
Is it within our guidelines to do the sole sourcing on this?
Yes. It falls within our guidelines for the reasons he stated.
Okay, that would be my concern.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director.
Our next one is item number 22. discussion and information for request for proposal for Department of Water Resources. Here's your proposition 84.
This is a follow-up to Prop 50, yes. Where we're at now is we had released the RFP. We did receive proposals, and on Friday we conducted those interviews. We did have a panel interview. We had 2 volunteers, one from Los Nietos School District, and another from the city of Norwalk. So the interviews went well, and I will be coming next month with staff recommendations and the results of the interview as well as the review of the proposals.
Is this as big as Grant 50 was, or is this smaller? Or
It is about the same size. We're looking at about $700,000 of DWR funds and about $300,000 of our funds. So it's about $1.1 million in total. We did have, with Prop 50 towards the tail end, we did receive partnership requests from Suburban Water Systems as well as Liberty Utilities. That's why we were able to do Lowell Joint School District as well as Compton Unified School District. And so we hope that our retail agencies will just be as excited to participate in this one and provide additional funding so we can do more. So we do estimate the same numbers as far as retrofits for this one as well.
Any questions? Seeing none?
Thank you.
Very much. Moving on to item number 23, which is presentation of the outreach activities for December.
Good morning, directors. I'll be providing an update on the outreach activities for the month of December. I'll start with education. For the month of December, we hosted 32 classes to over 1,120 students throughout the service area. And this was from 6 school districts, including Bellflower, El Rancho, Los Angeles, Los Nietos, Montebello, and Paramount. Staff participated in an art recognition event hosted by Metropolitan early in December for students who were involved in the Water is Life poster contest, and we actually also had our mascot, Max the Water Dog, make a presence there. Moving to press releases, for the month of December, staff distributed a press release highlighting the swearing-in ceremony for Director Aceituno, Director Hawkins, and Director Vasquez. The press release was provided to media groups in the service area, as well as our purveyors, chambers, and members of the legislature. We also posted it on water industry agencies. Moving to stakeholder engagement, we had one speakers bureau made by our general manager during the City of Vernon City Council meeting. The presentation summarized the state audit, the district's actions to move forward, as well as the election process for the appointed directors. In regards to government relations, Central Basin Board member Leticia Vasquez and Director of External Affairs Joseph Legaspi attended the installation of senators in Sacramento on December 5th. Additionally, they met with each Senate offices representing the Central Basin Service area, including Tony Mendoza, Ricardo Lara, Stephen Bradford, Ed Hernandez, and Kevin De Leon. Under social media, for Twitter, we had over 6,760 impressions and gained 10 new followers. Our top post for both Facebook and Twitter was of Max the Water Dog during Metropolitan's art recognition event. For Facebook, we reached over 5,000 users, had over 7,200 impressions, and 37 new likes. And last, for community support, we donated 135 cases to 13 community events, and this is for bottled water. So this concludes my presentation. Next month we'll have an update for all the year of 2016. Unless there are any questions?
No. Seeing none. Okay, we're item number 24, which is closed session pursuant to Government Code section.
Yes, closed session. Note, the Brown Act prohibits the disclosure of confidential information acquired in a closed session by any person present and offers various remedies to address willful breaches of confidentiality. These include injunctive relief, disciplinary action against an employee, and referral of a member of the legislative body to the grand jury.
It is incumbent upon all those attending lawful closed sessions to protect the confidentiality of those discussions. Only the legislative body, acting as a body, may agree to divulge confidential closed session information. Regarding attorney-client privilege communications, the entire body is the holder of the privilege, and only a majority vote of the entire body can authorize the waiver of the privilege. We're now ready for closed session, Mr. President.
We're now to item number 25. Is there anything you want to report out before we go in, or is there anything we want to report out?
A couple things, Mr. President. First, from closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, Public Employee Evaluation, District General Counsel, the board discussed this matter in closed session, and there's no reportable action. And for my report, for item 25, I will just note that I spoke with Nixon Peabody, the district's ethics officer who's monitoring the ethics hotline, and he confirmed that there is no new activity to report since the district's last board meeting on December 19, 2016. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on to item number 25, which is General Counsel report. Is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
General Manager's report.
A couple of things. First thing, I'd like to take this time to publicly thank Rick Apodaca for his leadership for the last 2.5 years that I've been here. During his tenure, we not only got through the state audit, we got through a rate increase, we got through the bond refinancing, we got through a strategic plan that's on the walls that provided direction, and every single time when we needed a vote to do the right thing, he was there. So I'd really like to thank him for his time on behalf of, I believe, of all the staff and the people in the community. Second thing I'd like to say is that change is part of life, and political change, as we've seen in the public election, is part of life. And I want to make sure that the board understands is that change at the top of a board is not an issue for the staff. It's a political thing. We understand that. And the new president and the vice president are experienced legislative people, and I'm sure they know how to run a board meeting. There is concerns, I heard when I went out from the audience that was here before, about whether Central Basin is going back to the old form of business, where it's going to be about improper contracts, chaotic, a lot of lawsuits and that. I'd like to assure the audience that's left that I have total confidence that the current board, and I know that the current staff and retailers will never let this district slide back. We're going to keep going forward. And with that, I'm complete.
Okay. Item number 27 is any directors that need to report on any meetings or conferences that they attended since their last board meeting. You got one?
Yes. Okay, I'd like to report my attendance at the Colorado River Conference. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to report my attendance also at the Colorado River Conference. Although it was not paid for by the Central Basin, it was paid for by the Metropolitan Water District. And to my understanding, if it wasn't paid for by the Central Basin, then it only needs to be reported by the Metropolitan Water District, which it's already been reported. So I'm just doing it because I got a note from staff here that asked me to do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But my understanding is that if the Metropolitan Water District, pays for it, then it just needs to be reported there, so.
But it never hurts to have a belt and suspenders.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 28, director's comments on future agenda items. Do we have any? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
I just have a question. Do we have a link?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, I saw that and I hadn't seen that before, so I wasn't sure if that was a result of that. Oh, did it? Okay. Is that from the toilets? Or what is that from?
No, it's from the water heater.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yes.